Hello, welcome back to Happy Heart 1111. Today's topic is why Indians are so lust driven and how it is keeping us backward. Today, we see that lust is the theme for entertainment, for comedy, for conversation, for anything and everything you see around you, and it has been normalized and people have somehow become accustomed to it, that if someone is showing some perverted behavior or is talking about something or in a manner which is reflecting their perverted mindset, then it is normal, and this has really deteriorated our lifestyle, our way of looking at other people around us, and how we behave with people, not only to whom we know, but also with the strangers, and also how we are responding to different topics with this animalistic vision or perspective where lust is the prime motive or the prime intention. And this really disgusts me because I really feel that as a human, anyone should learn to behave like a human rather than normalizing a animalistic way of life. And we can see that people are talking about opposite gender in a very sexualized manner, where they see the other person as an object of amusement, as a painting or something which needs to be sexualized, and you can give sexist remarks on other people. And also the kind of choice that people in our country exercise in terms of choosing their entertainment, choosing their clothes, choosing their niche when it comes to creating content, choosing their books that they would like to read, or the web series, anything. They have just fixated themselves on this whole idea that everything should be sexualized and everything should be seen through this obscene glass of lust. Now, the question arises that why this is happening and what is the reason for this mindset in our country. And due to this mindset only, our country is known as the rape capital. People who visit our country from various different parts of the world, they have experienced such horrible situations where they were sexually assaulted, or they were eve teased, or they in some manner or other experienced sexual harassment. Also talking about some recent incidents where people in our country, especially men of all ages, they have somehow made it a point that the purpose of their life is to satisfy their lust through different means, whether it's watching all kinds of dirty entertainment content, which is primarily based on these kinds of content where they are exposed to nudity and sexualized material in the form of entertainment, or to pursue a girl in a relationship with this prime motive that they have to sleep with her and take advantage of her by establishing a sexual relationship with her. The lust in the minds of men or boys in our country is so deep rooted that there have been insane incidents where they were found trying to touch a painting of a woman or a female in a sexualized manner, like touching the chest of that painting. And there was a case where the yoga figurines, that is illustration or painting in which yoga postures were drawn, and those paintings didn't even had any proper female body parts drawn, but still it was destroyed on those parts of the painting which somehow was supposed to be a part of female genitals or female specific body parts, that is the chest and the vagina part, which was not even drawn properly. But I can't explain it in words. But this whole incident was on news, and this really tells that how much lust has captured the minds of Indians, that they see paintings also as a means to satisfy their unsatiable lust. In our country, males from different age groups have been found guilty of sexually harassing the opposite gender, and the opposite gender were also from a child to an old woman. So you can just imagine that it has nothing to do with the female body part, because just imagine a small child, an infant, hasn't even developed those body parts which are often said to be attracting the male attention or blamed for being sexually harassed by a man or a boy. So it's not about the female's body part, age, what kind of clothing she wears, whether even if she is a living being or not, because even a painting of a woman or a girl is attracting a sexualized approach from the opposite gender. So this is a very big problem in our country, and it is making our country backward since past so many decades, because all that humans in this part of the world is interested and is motivated towards is to satisfy their lust, and lust is in their mind. And the question here arises, where is this lust coming from where are they developing so much of sexual urge in them? Because men are in different other parts of the world, and there are certain countries where women dress up more outrageously, more boldly, in a more revealing clothing. But the instances or incidents of being sexually harassed or assaulted is much lesser than our country, which is supposed to be rich in culture, civilization, and spirituality. If our country is spiritually so gifted, blessed, and rich, how come men in this country approach or see the opposite gender, that is, the girls and the women, with the eyes of lust? Because if you have so much of spirituality or even religious background in terms of your ancestry, why are you not seeing the opposite gender like a human, and instead you are more interested in keeping the opposite gender captivated and get all kinds of satisfaction, specifically sexual amusement, from the opposite gender? Girls in some developed countries can walk on the streets wearing full fledged makeup or any kind of clothing with confidence and with safety and security in their heart, even at night. But in India, girls have to think before they step out of their house. They have to meticulously decide their clothing before wearing them and stepping out of the house, so that they don't attract unwanted attention. You wear traditional wear, you wear western wear, you are fully covered or you are partially covered, it really doesn't matter. If someone in their mind is consumed by sexual thoughts and sexual content, then you really can't make any difference by being dressed in a specific manner, because that person, that man or that boy, has made up their mind to view women or girls through that lens of lust. Now, let's talk about the reason that is causing this problem. The reason, my friend, is very simple and clear. That is the information, the entertainment, the knowledge, and the conversation is fixated on lust. And if you are feeding your mind with lust driven content, information, news, knowledge, conversation, then what are you expecting? Of course, you are going to be having that perspective or that kind of a thought process 24/7, 365 days. Like, I know people who like to read those kind of books where women have been described in a very sexualized manner, in nudity and all kinds of objectification that is done towards a woman, whether it's a romance novel, whether it's any kind of a drama or any genre. There are some people who are drawn specifically towards this kind of books, novels, magazines. Same is the case with the web series, same is the case with the movies, same is the case with the music, the news, where some people really enjoy watching the news which is specifically dedicated towards showing the crimes where women or girls are being sexually harassed and molested. Now, who is to blame for all these things? How can we stop this? Well, the blame goes to the deep state, the media, the social media, the promoters of all these content, whether it's the books, it's the movies, it's the magazine, it's the music. Everywhere they are making it sure that only sexualized content or sexualized material is being distributed so that humans stay enslaved, weak, and controlled. Because when your mind is consumed by this kind of emotion where you can't even think clearly, you don't think like a human, you don't have critical thinking, you have forgotten your duty, responsibility as a human in this world. You're not an animal. You can see that there are movies, songs, web series, books which has nothing to do with sexualized content. The story, the genre, the theme has nothing to do with nudity or with lust, but still they would include certain scenes or lyrics or some written content which is exposing the viewer, reader, listener to this kind of a lustful content. Why it is done? Why? Because they know very well that this would keep humans weak. This would keep humans in an animalistic state of mind. This would make men a enemy for the women in the society. Women will never feel safe around men. Men and women, when are separated through this tactic where men are feeded constantly with this kind of a sexualized content, where they are habituated or they have been conditioned to see the other gender through one and only lens, that is the lens of lust, the lens of nudity, then of course they can never earn the trust of the women or the girls in the society. They would always be seen as a potential threat to the women or girls in the society. The women and the girls in Indian society, they don't feel safe when they are passing by a group of men standing smoking there, or maybe just talking among themselves. The girls or the women would make sure that they just pass by them quickly by walking fast and avoid any eye contact with them. The girls and women would make sure that when they are hiring any public transport, then it is having less males and more females to ensure their modesty, dignity, and respect. In other countries, men, women, boys, girls, even if they are strangers, they would smile at them, talk to each other in a normal manner. But in our country, women or girls avoid smiling at strange men or even men or boys whom they know, because they don't want to give any kind of a wrong signal, and they don't want to be blamed later on that you were the one who grabbed attention from them, and that is why you got punished for that by being sexually assaulted or by being objectified or in any manner being disrespected by boys or men. Also, in terms of dating, where young boys and girls try to make friends with the opposite gender to know each other, it has been made a culture in our country that dating means that you have to sleep with each other, or if somebody knows that some girl is dating someone or has dated some men in the past, it is automatically considered that she must have slept with each one of them, or she is in a sexual relationship with the guy with whom she is dating. And it is not false, it is true in majority of the cases, because that's how relationship between a man and a woman and a girl and a boy has been created in the 3D world, where people are only visualizing the conversations between two opposite gender or the friendship between two opposite gender through the lens of lust, that if they are in a relationship, then of course sexual intimacy must be there, or it's a normal thing to happen. Same is the case with the marriage. The guys who are going for arranged marriage are just going for arranged marriage because they just want to experience this sexual intimacy with the opposite gender. Their entire teenage or early adulthood, they never must have talked to the opposite gender in a manner where they approached them romantically, but because they were not that confident or they were not able to interact with the opposite gender, they find marriage, or specifically arranged marriage, a ticket to experience sexual intimacy with the opposite gender. And that is the reason that when the groom and his family comes to meet the bride at her place, he and his family is more interested in the beauty of the girl, in her body characteristics or physical characteristics, and how young she is, to make sure that she has retained her virginity. And of course, in our society, older men are always considered ideal, or it has been normalized in our society that men, no matter how old, can marry a younger girl, a girl who might even be at the age of his niece, daughter, or maybe much younger sister. I recently had watched a Insta reel where a young girl was being engaged to a man of her father's age, And what's the reason? The reason is that that man had a government job. That man must be of their caste and community. And according to the parents of the girls, what else is more secure for a girl than to marry someone who has a government job? And it doesn't really matter if he is even of your father's age. And that was disgusting. So things in our society are running or operating in a very animalistic mode towards women. And I would accept the fact that it's not only the men and the boys, but the girls too have become very lust driven. They agree to sleep with random boys just to experience the sexual intimacy, or because they were suggested to do so by their peer group, or because they wanted to fit in some group which they considered is the popular group of their college, their office, or whatever, or because it has been made a pop culture that if you are not having a sexual life as a youngster, then something is wrong with you. And every relationship between a guy and a girl is seen through this lens that if they are talking, if they are going out, hanging out in some public place, or they are accompanying each other on their way to the college or office or school, then they are definitely in this kind of a dynamic where they are sexually involved with each other. The question arises now, how should we overcome this issue? Because when a majority of our population, that is Indian population, is functioning and operating with lust as a prime motive in their mind, it is definitely going to destroy the creativity, innovation, invention, and development of our country. Because what all are people doing? They are just busy watching, consuming, reading, listening these obscene content, which is making them nothing more than an animal who has lost control over its sexual urges and now needs to be castrated or medically treated to calm it down, to bring it to its normal senses. So, how can we overcome this problem in our country? We can overcome this problem by exercising choice, a very prudent, wise choice of not reading, listening, watching, or having anything to do with such content, information, books, conversations which are dedicated or which is intended towards sexual content or lust. Like, people give so much of attention through their views to these kind of content on social media, where a woman who has nothing to do with sexualized content, she is apparently an astrologer, a tarot reader, a singer, a comedian, or anything else, is attracting viewers through her obscene clothing, through her sexualized conversations, abusive conversation, and people are like watching this kind of content primarily because they are getting that early dose of lust satisfaction, if not the entire dose of it. And you can just go and watch these channels. Like, these channels have their viewership from those kind of perverted people who are not interested in the knowledge, wisdom, or anything else that is being provided, but they are there just to get that initial dopamine hit by getting their lustful desires satisfied to some extent, if not totally. But today, I must say that we are on a much better situation because of the changes in the energy of our planet, where who had cracked some sexualized, obscene, unethical, immoral jokes in the past are being called out, are being punished, are being defamed, or are being questioned for their deeds today. Just imagine some comedian said something about a very sensitive topic and he or she made fun of it, but it was not questioned at that point of time when the incident happened or when it just came live. But after so many days, today people are putting a question mark on such behavior, on such comedy shows, on such mindset where people can joke about the opposite genders reproductive organs or about getting sexual favors because a guy has given a treat or paid for a meal for a girl, or in so many ways where the whole idea about entertainment is fixated on laughing about these sexualized content or any other content where the prime purpose was to grab the attention of the viewers or the audience through lust and lust driven content. You might think that we are educated, we are advanced, we are all grown up people, and people in the past have had so many kids even when this kind of a conversation entertainment or this kind of education which we are getting today was not available. So how come people in today's generation or today's era have become more perverted than the previous generations? I'm not saying that that is the case, but I'm saying that in our country women have always been a means of amusement, not a human who needs to be treated like a person who has emotions and free will. And this is the reason for various crime against women, the approach towards women. Even in the offices, women face this discomfort while being around the male colleagues because they have their dirty eyes, which is lust driven, on their female colleagues. And this is a problem in so many offices. And you might have heard about extramarital affairs becoming a common trait in corporate offices where people are sleeping with the opposite gender just to get trivial favors or to be in the good books of their male bosses or male colleagues. So you can see that lust is deteriorating our society on different levels, whether it's the safety of girls, whether it's the work environment, whether it's the approach for girls in the aspect of marriage, or whether it is in terms of representation of girls on various public platforms where they have to be around the opposite gender and they find themselves somewhat restricted and insecure because the men in our society are lust driven. You can see this problem in politics, you can see this problem in the entertainment industry, you can see this in the corporate offices, you can see this problem in the families, in the neighborhood, on the streets. anywhere and everywhere. The reason I have made this video is that this problem of being so much driven by lust is creating a separation between the masculine and the feminine energy on our planet, specifically in our country. And if we want to ascend to the higher dimension where there would be no hierarchies, there would be no superiority and inferiority, there would be no one higher on the ladder of the power dynamics where the males would be the superior or the oppressor and the females would be inferior and the oppressed. We need to remove this lens of lust from the eyes of men, women, boys, and girls, because you cannot treat each other like an object which has a use and throw characteristics. We need to approach each other with respect, with compassion, with understanding, with gratitude, with appreciation, not with the eyes of lust, because this problem would destroy the families, destroy the marriages, destroy the social structure on different levels, and we have already witnessed that. So it's time that we choose our source of information, source of entertainment very wisely and make sure that it is free from lustful content, because you are not getting anything good out of it. Your state of mind is being deteriorated. You are being tagged as a loose character person. You are being avoided and disrespected by the opposite gender or by people in general because of your perverted personality. Also, you cannot ascend spiritually if you are stuck in this lustful mindset and you are functioning like a uncontrollable animal who doesn't have any control over his or her sexual urges. So stop consuming all these content, books, information, and stop in getting involved in such conversations, in such groups where lust is the prime topic and is the only thing that is being served, discussed, and enjoyed. If you want good people in your company, if you want that the opposite gender must respect you, if you want a society where all the genders can live safely without any fear in their heart, it's important that you come out of that trap of lust, which is due to your choice of information, content, entertainment, or group. And this would make a greater difference in your personality, in your aura, in your energetic field. Because let me tell you, you might think that these thoughts are all in your mind and nobody knows about it, but people who are awakened, who are spiritually blessed, and who has already done the inner work can spot you from a distance and would make sure that they maintain a healthy distance and healthy boundary from you, because they don't want to deteriorate their aura and their state of being by being around you, by talking to you, by being seen with you. And as I have already mentioned in many of my previous videos, that the current energies are not supporting the old low emotions of lust, hatred, anger, envy. So, lust is a big problem in our country and it has infected so many people and is now punishing them in all sorts of ways and manners. You can already witness it, and in the coming time it would be more rigorous. So it's better that if you are consumed by this emotion and you want to be a part of that new reality, you have to leave this low, filthy, animalistic emotion of lust. And for that, you should first start by avoiding those content, news, information, books, conversations which are fixated on lust. So, I have explained everything very clearly and precisely. I wish if you are trapped in this emotion of lust, you get the courage and the motivation to come out of it, to release it, to remove it from your energetic body as soon as possible, and you choose the path towards divinity and towards the 5D consciousness.